Happiness at work. Is it even possible? You may wonder, is it asking for too much? Is anyone actually satisfied with their job in the long run? The drudgery of work seems more common than not that so many of us wonder if we should just give up and accept that this is just the way it is. Hey there, it's Kristen Zava from JobJoy. And as you could probably tell by the words JobJoy, I believe that it's absolutely possible to be happy at work and that in fact, it's important, not just for your career, but for your health, for your well-being, for your relationships, and beyond. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you the 5 essentials to fulfilling work so that you can get off that never-ending hamster wheel and banish those Sunday scaries for good. But before we get into that, if you'd like more career and job search advice just like this, directly from a certified career coach with 15 years corporate experience, someone who has personally changed jobs multiple times and helped hundreds of clients do the same, go ahead and make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And stay until the end because while all 5 keys are necessary, the 5th point is the linchpin that makes all the difference. And it's something that I don't see other coaches talking about enough, if at all. Let's start with why happiness at work matters. I would argue it is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Happiness at work is good for you, it's good for business. Numerous studies, surveys, and articles like this one from the Harvard Business Review have shown that when you're happy at work, it leads to higher productivity, higher engagement, more creativity, and better work-life balance. Think about it. Work is where we spend the majority of our waking hours. Many of us are with our colleagues more than our loved ones. And it's not even like we can compartmentalize. When we're dissatisfied at work, it bleeds into every other part of our life. It affects our health physically, mentally, emotionally. It affects our relationships with family, friends, partners, self, and our overall well-being, vitality, and interest in life. One example of this is a startling fact that shows the degree to which a toxic boss affects your happiness, even if you're not in the office. According to this Washington Post article, a manager's effect on the overall happiness and well-being of their direct reports is zero point 0.4 on a 10-point life scale. That might not sound like much, but it equates to the equivalent of more than doubling household income. Okay, so we know it's important, but why is finding fulfillment at work so elusive for so many of us? If you're watching this, I know you. You've done the work. You've had the tough conversations. You've likely changed jobs, maybe even careers. You've played the game, climbed the corporate ladder, earned those promotions and raises, but still there's this sense that something is missing. Maybe you get a taste here and there of what it would feel like to actually enjoy your work, a successful presentation, a big sale, a nice bonus, or other achievement can all provide a temporary boost in morale and feelings towards work. But if the following 5 things aren't in place, it won't be long lasting. First off, and maybe most obvious, is that the job has to cover your basic needs. We all know that money alone doesn't buy happiness, and you've likely heard studies that show that above a certain amount, it won't make a significant difference in satisfaction. Updated for current times, that number is anywhere from 75 to 105,000 per year, depending on your location, your life situation, and so on. That said, if you're struggling to pay rent or put food on the table, you're likely in a constant state of survival mode. This chronic stress takes a toll on both your body and your psyche, not to mention your relationships. Table stakes out of the way, the second key to fulfillment at work is that your role must provide the right amount of challenge. Too little challenge and we're bored. At first, it might be nice to get to coast for a little bit, but in the long run, it's going to drive you crazy with boredom, possibly even guilt for not having that much to do at work. On the other hand, too much challenge and you feel overwhelmed, ineffective, and set up to fail, likely leading to burnout and even giving up. All of this to say we need the right amount of challenge to keep us excited, learning, and growing, both as a person and professional. But it's not simply the level of challenge, the type of work is important too. Which leads me to happiness key number 3, your work must be a fit for your strengths and interests. If you're a high achiever, you're likely multi-passionate, and with enough hard work, you could be successful at almost any job. That doesn't mean they're all for you or that they'll keep you satisfied in the long run. It's important to find the balance between the things you're naturally good at, which many times you take for granted, and also actually interested in learning and growing your aptitude around. A personal example, I studied finance in grad school because I was good with numbers, and coming out of my bachelor's in 2001 in the height of a recession, it seemed like a safe industry. I ended up spending over a decade in finance, first in investment banking and then in consulting. And I was good at it. I made good money, but my heart wasn't in it. I wasn't naturally inclined to study derivatives in the stock market in my free time. And so the work became tedious. Whereas when I changed careers to something a little more creative in marketing, strategy, customer experience, I found myself not only enjoying my work more, but I was more easily and naturally inclined to stay up to date on trends, develop my own opinions, and have more of an intuitive sense on the market. In short, when I was naturally interested and drawn to the topic, work became fun. Imagine that. Okay, so you've got a job that pays the bill, it hits the sweet spot on level of challenge, it's a match for your strengths and your interests, but even all that isn't enough if the culture isn't a fit. When I was in consulting, we had new projects every 3 to 18 months. It was like starting a new job every time. And I always said that if I had to choose, I would prefer to have meh work with great people than to have the best work ever with a terrible team. Remember that stat I shared about the effect of a bad boss on an employee? The same holds true for your colleagues. It probably won't surprise you that even just one bad apple, one toxic employee, can have a staggering effect on the performance and the productivity of everyone around them, costing both their teammates and the company time, energy, and money. Beyond working with people you generally like, who treat you with respect, having a manager who sees and appreciates the impact you have, in order to thrive, the values of the company and overall culture need to also be aligned with you, your personality, and how you work best. This is not the same for everyone. And even your ideal situation may have changed for you over the past few years since the pandemic, social isolation, and working from home. For example, a super social, open concept office with bright colors might be an extrovert's dream, while sending others into sensory overload. On the other hand, a quiet, muted, high walled cubicle farm is a dreary nightmare for so many too. Now we're moving on to the fifth key. This is the one that I told you is the most important. I'd argue it's the linchpin for everything. And it's the thing I don't hear talked about nearly enough. Your job, your career must support the life you want. When we think about it, it makes sense. The job and the career and the trajectory that it put you on when you graduated school at 22 simply might not be a fit anymore. You're a different person. You're likely in a different stage, a different season of life. What is important to you has likely shifted. You've learned a lot about who you are, what you like, and what you want from not just work, but life. And if your current job does not support your life, giving you the financial resources, the time, and the energy to live a fully aligned life outside of the office, then all the money and the promotions in the world will only provide you with short term happiness. I know this. Back to my consulting days, I learned this one the hard way. I remember at the height of my consulting career, living in New York City, being on high profile projects, doing impressive work, and making great money. By all outside measures, I was successful. And yet on the inside, I was never truly happy. What I realized later is that it wasn't necessarily the fault of the job. Sure, there were things that could have been adjusted, but it was just that this particular role, this particular career path, and the lifestyle that accompanied it wasn't a fit for what I valued in life. If you had asked me at age 25, 26, what did I want from life? What were my values? I would have told you freedom, love, adventure. By the way, that hasn't changed much. But this career had me working 70, 80-hour work weeks. It had me spending most days cooped up in a conference room for 12 plus hours at a client site away from home. By the time I got home on the weekends, I had zero energy left for anything but sleep and catching up on work. Realizing this was a game changer and actually a huge relief. Something wasn't wrong with me or even the job. It simply was no longer a fit for me in that period of my life. If you've been struggling with finding lasting happiness at work, I hope this checklist is helpful to get you started on determining your next best career move. While it does take some reflection, intention, and strategy to land one of these roles, and it's not necessarily easy, I would argue it's well worth the effort for the sake of your health, your relationships, your overall well being, and your experience of life. And let's be real, it's also really tiring to be at a job that you hate. Putting in the work now sure beats tolerating a less than desirable, if not toxic, work situation. The good news is that it's all learnable and you don't have to do it alone. Go ahead, check out my other videos, my other complimentary masterclasses that I've linked below, as well as findyourjobjoy.com, where I have more resources for you. When you sign up for a class, you'll also get added to my email list for weekly job search tips and pep talks. Thanks for watching until the end. If you got something out of this video, I'd so appreciate a thumbs up. See you next time.